Hey, it's two from Cleverific. I'm here with Roddy from Andzen, and he's going to tell us all the wonderful things he's doing over there.
Hello, my name is Roddy Smith. I am the general manager at Andzen. Andzen is a customer journey and CRM agency. We're Klaviyo Master Elite partners specializing in helping mid to large D2C brands on Shopify and Shopify Plus turn their email and SMS into actual revenue drivers, not just sort of blast campaigns. I have been tasked with scaling our North American operations from our very strong APAC base. And we really handle the full stack from email marketing, SMS marketing, automation, loyalty programs. So I guess like to think of us as the team that builds the systems that make customers come back and spend more over time. I have been working in e-commerce for a long time, over a decade now, predominantly on the SaaS side of things. So this is my first venture onto the agency side of things. So it's been fun being on the other side of the table.
We're very excited to have you here today. I guess I'll just jump right in. And coming out of BFCM, what were some big performance differences that you saw?
Yeah, I think everybody talks about like BFCM being open season on emails and sending more emails. But like what actually drove revenue for our merchants is the segmentation and timing. Brands that segmented by engagement level, past purchase behavior, cart value, they crushed it. You know, Klaviyo's benchmark report that they just released a week or two ago said that the top 10% of email campaigns drove 7 times more revenue per recipient than average. And that's not from sending more, it's from sending smarter. The other one is flows, not campaigns. So like abandoned cart flows converted way higher during BFCM, obviously, while campaigns performed slightly less. So if you weren't optimizing your flows heading into peak season, you left money on the table.
Any specific segments that really crushed it you saw?
I think it's like the VIP segment, as expected. You know, these folks have higher lifetime value. They respond to exclusivity and like not just discounts. So campaigns that segment into that, we're seeing a much higher return per recipient or revenue per recipient. And I think like the second one would probably be engaged but haven't purchased recently. So this is your win back zone. Those people in the 30 to 60 day lapsed period or segment, and sending out that like, we miss you type of emails with like a soft incentive perform pretty well. And then also pulling in like people who had abandoned carts previously who didn't convert from that flow. So if someone ignored your previous abandoned cart series, a campaign level nudge with some social proof and a bit of urgency were really good to push them over the line.
And how about like the number of emails sent? Does that matter, and more is better, or what's going on these days?
There's no magic number here. I don't think there's like a silver bullet, but I think the truth really is frequency without relevance kills performance. So the brands that were doing well aren't necessarily sending more emails. They're sending better targeted emails. So if your unsubscribe rate is creeping up, then you're over mailing or under segmenting. We typically see 4 to 6 campaigns per month perform well for most brands, but the real revenue comes from the flows running in the background. Your welcome series, abandoned cart, browse abandonment, post-purchase, because those are triggered by behavior. So that they're always more relevant. You know, you've performed an action and you're getting a response off the back of it. So it's something that the shopper has initiated. And so we always see that those flows are the ones that really shine through BFCM.
This is really amazing information. I'm super excited about it. So what mistakes do you see brands making with their email strategy, and where are they leaving money on the table?
I think that's a good one. And like, there's a lot. There's some who do really great, but I think I'm going to keep harping on this one because during BFCM, it's the real moneymaker is not having a proper abandoned cart flow. I think it's like abandoned carts drive like $3 of revenue per recipient and convert at like 10 to 12%. So if you don't have that set up properly, you're really hemorrhaging money. And I think the other one is treating email like I don't know, like a broadcast system or like a megaphone instead of a conversation. Batch and blast is dead. Brands that segment and personalize see way better performance. So use your data. Talk to customers like humans, not email addresses. You know, make sure that you're personalizing it, that you're taking the data that you're gathering. Klaviyo is excellent for pulling in all of your data into one centralized place. So use it. That like send to all button or like that mass send, just stop. Don't do that anymore. Think about how you can do it a bit more creatively and just personalize it to make sure that it's relevant to the people that you're sending to.
Now, how about email versus SMS?
Yeah, good question. There's lots of mixed opinions on this. I think it depends on the application. So in like post-purchase SMS, my opinion, it should be used like sort of transactionally. Order confirmed, shipment out, shipment delivered. In that instance, you want to use it as like a sort of your assisting part to the email. For VIP and loyalty, SMS shines. These are the people who are most engaged and they want to get an SMS from you. So, and I think typically people hold their SMS inbox in slightly higher regard than their email inbox, where they're okay with more stuff coming into it. So I think it really depends on the application, and where it's happening is where SMS is going to do best. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. Any other channels interesting, or people are underused, you think?
I mean, Klaviyo's rolled out WhatsApp, which is pretty interesting. They're like RCS and like looping that in with like apps and like push notifications, tying back to the loyalty side of things. People who have your app installed, again, your icon app space on your phone, a lot of people again hold an even higher regard. You're not going to just install anybody's app. So if you have their app installed, and then you can leverage push notifications to get them back in for those VIP sales, a bit of exclusivity, early access, those sorts of things, I think have been working very well. And I think there's something to be said for plain old snail mail. Getting that like card out often yields really, really good results. It all depends on the brand. It all depends on your audience, who your ICP is, and making sure that you're tailoring it to where they live. From a larger perspective, if you market to the younger crowd, if you're not on TikTok, you're nowhere. If you're marketing to millennials, then you probably want to be on Instagram. If you're hitting up the boomers, you probably want to be on Facebook. So I think that, again, there's no silver bullet to these things. I think it's taking a thoughtful approach and thinking about who your shopper actually is to make sure that you're sending it and communicating with them in the right place. Having said that, email is always the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I got a box the other day and it had a bunch of inserts.
Yeah.
Like how are we thinking about those things these days, and how effective are they?
Yeah, I think you could do some really cool stuff with that. Looping into your loyalty program as like when you're opening that box. I mean, there's unboxing videos that are rampant on YouTube. So take advantage of that surprise and delight moment to loop them into your loyalty program. And I think like loyalty programs, you need to make sure that you have the fundamentals around it. Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams lied to us all. If you build it, they will come. It's just not true. You need to make sure that you're leveraging your loyalty program through email to hit all of those moments, whether it's like, new level achieved. You have this many points to hit this new tier. You have this discount. There's lots of great loyalty apps out there. We've worked a lot with Akendo. I've been very impressed with what I'm seeing at Revo. And there's some really cool stuff that you can do with them. And I think looping those in, particularly in those unboxing moments, is a great way to do that. I've seen some really good ones in terms of like sharing the little insert with a friend, so then they can get a discount and you get a bit of virality going. There's lots of cool stuff that you can do.
I'm pretty excited about that. Now, you said basically emails are king. How about order confirmation emails? Like, is there any opportunity there? What do you see brands using there?
Yeah, Lord, yes. Your order confirmation is the highest open rate you will ever see on any email you ever send. It is at that exact moment that excitement is highest. They've just made the purchase. They want to go, and they're going to open that to make sure that, they got the right size. They got the right color. It's a great time for Cleverific to jump in and make sure that you have a clear CTA in there to be able to easily adjust it. Cut down on those customer service, emails and chats and everything, and allow the shopper to fix their mistake themselves. It can also really help cut down on returns, because then you're not having to, if they don't see it, they're going to get it back and then have to ship it back, and that's just going to cost you money. So I think like Cleverific is, if it's not in your order confirmation, you're making a huge mistake. And I think the order confirmation is a great time to get the shopper excited about what the product is. Throw some UGC in there, throw some good lifestyle images. The order confirmation, I mean, one of the apps that I worked with previously, Spently, we did transactional emails for Shopify. So I'm very passionate about transactional emails. this is years ago. They just make sense. If you're not branding it, if you're not throwing in a cross-sell opportunity, how to edit the order, you're just missing out.
Now, walk me through what a well-orchestrated post-purchase email/sequence would look like, or one that was really successful for someone this past season.
Yeah, so obviously starting with that order confirmation. Step number one, make sure that they get a nice branded email with some UGC in there, cross-sell. Then it's your shipment notification. So give them that tracking information and some educational content. If they've bought, I don't know, some skincare, talk about like how great whatever vitamins and minerals in there are great for your skin. Build some excitement around it. Then the delivery follow-up, 2 to 3 days post-delivery, like, did it arrive? Here's how to use it. Start walking them through the product. And again, like giving them instructions on the actual implementation of the product. And 7 to 10 days post-delivery, ask for that review request. I mean, obviously depends on the product type. 7 to 10 is generally pretty safe if they've been able to use it, and get some additional content that's going to give you some SEO juice, that's going to give you more content for the site, all of those wonderful things. And then the final one would be like replenishment. If it's a product that they're going to use up, look at how long the average person uses that skin moisturizer or whatever and send the replenishment email, or send a cross-sell. So sort of depends on the product life cycle, but anywhere like 14, 30, 60 days afterwards, make sure you're getting them into that real clean and tidy post-purchase flow.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you do there, especially with really customizing to like a specific product's life cycle. For instance, there's no correct formula. I buy a piece of furniture, right? And you're sending me the review email at the wrong time because I haven't opened maybe a week, maybe I'm waiting for someone else to actually magically open it and assemble it for me. So, the right time is absolutely important, right?
100%. Like too soon, asking for a review before the product arrives sounds obvious, but it happens. Too late, waiting like 3 weeks to follow up on a delivery, you're missing out. You got to strike while engagement is hot. And I think that sweet spot is sort of 2 to 3 days after delivery. How's it going? And then 7 to 10 days for that review request.
And where do you start? I guess that's another good thing. It's like there's so many opportunities out there. Where do you start? Like, it seems to be sometimes overwhelming.
Yeah, 100%. You raise a good point. And I think like the place to start is like looking at the data, looking at what you did last year, looking at like what performed well last year, what didn't perform last year, and like letting the data tell the story for you. And if you're looking into it and you're like, oh man, like our paid sucked last year, be like, okay, I need to drill down into that. Or if you're like, paid was great, but our conversion rate was terrible. Like, okay, maybe you need to start looking into some CRO here and like figuring out like what's going on the actual site. And if same with like email, if you're like, okay, so like email didn't perform as well as we thought it did, like making sure that like I encourage every brand to do an immediate post-mortem after BFCM while everything is still fresh in your mind, and then save that until give yourself some time to breathe through like the e-commerce hangover of January, and then like recheck it as you start thinking about BFCM for 2026. Because if you don't write it down now, I don't know about everybody else, but my brain's like a club at capacity. It's like one person in, one person out, one idea in, one idea out. So making sure that you write it down so you actually remember.
Now, on that subject, do you have like some key questions that that people absolutely should ask this postmortem?
Honestly, I think it's like 2 very basic questions. What was good? What was bad? And then just let it go from there. If you want to drill down into like individual pieces, I'd break it up into like your funnel. What were you doing for like acquisition? How did paid go? How did conversion go on site? And like breaking it down across that. And like even above, paid, like looking at SEO, paid, CRO, and like retention, and breaking it up into the different life cycles of your marketing funnel.
Amazing. Heading into the next year here, what are you seeing brands prioritize differently than this past year?
Yeah. Good question. I think flows over campaigns. That's like the biggest one that we have seen the most of. Brands are finally realizing that flows drive like a significant amount more of revenue. The focus shifting from how many campaigns can we send to how sophisticated are our flows. And I think by fine tuning those, it's they keep running in the background. And to our point earlier, these are like behavior-based actions. So someone has done this, send them that. I think the other one, and we've touched on this, is zero party data. Asking customers what they want. If you sell coffee and they land on your site in your data capture, are you a whole beans person or ground? Are you Nespresso or Keurig? Are you pour over or espresso shots? Like, get information about what they want. Let them tell you what you should market to them. And then in your welcome flow, branch it. Have all those like different segments. So then it's not really like, it's not feeling like just like a batch and blast email. It feels way more personalized because they're sending you information that is directly relevant to you. And I think that's how the best brands are pulling ahead. And then the final one, I think like retention over acquisition. We've seen CAC at an all-time high. Brands are investing in post-purchase experience, loyalty programs, and win-back campaigns to maximize LTV. Because like, you've paid money to get these people. Let's make sure we're looping them back in again and again and again, because that's how brands are built.
Absolutely. You mentioned this before, and the best way to do that is to actually have something that feels like a conversation.
Totally. Yeah, like I think the same's true with like SMS, like conversational SMS. Instead of just like, you have your transactional ones where it's like, hey, your order's being shipped. But then from like an abandoned cart flow or abandoned checkout flow, we saw you looking at this. Do you have any questions? Turning that SMS and making it a bit more human to have a conversation about it, I think is a really great way to make sure that you're personalizing it. You're adding a bit more of a human touch to things.
And I'm going to jump back to the flows. Like, you talk about like creating like, how many flows would like a typical brand have, right? Like, I'm feeling like based on what you're saying, there's going to be quite a lot.
Yeah, there's loads. So I mean, like the foundational flows are like you're welcome, abandoned cart, post-purchase are like the three sort of big ones. I think off the back of that, like there's like, if there's a subscription brand, you can do a whole like subscription abandonment, upcoming subscription. Like there's a whole slew of subscription ones. There's a whole slew of retention ones. And it again depends on the brand. I think replenishment flows work really, really well. A big one to be thinking about post Black Friday, Cyber Monday is like sunset flow. Some of these people might not purchase from you again for a while. So there's no point in paying for that profile throughout the entire year. A tool that we really love to use, shout out to our friends over at Arita. They're an AI tool that like takes all the data points. And if they know that Roddy buys, I don't know, 10 white t-shirts every Christmas, and that's been his buying behavior for the last 2 years, don't pay for that profile of Roddy all year round. Suppress it and then reactivate it come Christmas to make sure that you're making the most of it. So there's lots of smart ways that you can ensure that you're hitting the right people at the right time, segmenting in the right way. You can segment to your heart's content, but make sure that it makes sense.
Great. This is really wonderful information. Thank you so much. Going back to the AI, where do you think, this is kind of slightly off topic, but kind of fun, where do you think AI is like working and where it is totally not right now? I know like the last year for sure, last 2 years, it's been all the hype, right? And, just personally, I'm sure from as a consumer on my side or your side, you can say, oh, this is really cool, or this is really horrible. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like it's pretty easy to get absolutely buried in AI, thinking that it's going to revolutionize everything. AI is a tool, and the tool is only as good as the person wielding it. I've got a 2-year-old. If I throw a hammer into her hands, it's probably not going to be good. If I throw a hammer into a master carpenter hands, it's going to be a lot better. And I think AI is the same way. One example where we like to leverage it is, AI powered product recommendations based on a purchase. Let AI figure it out so you're not having to go through and figure out every single branch for every single product. It's just a massive time saver. I think where we're seeing it work is, okay, what is historically a manual task? Insert AI. And I don't know if it's necessarily, it is revolutionizing things, but it's like, you got to make sure that you're using it in the right place. Because if you just try to like take a broad stroke of AI across everything, it's not going to get everything right. So again, just being tactical about it and making sure that you're applying it in a smart and like directed way.
Great. And So when someone comes in the door, where do you see brands waste the most money when you first kind of onboard them and like assess what's going on?
I think automations and like looking at their flows. I think too many brands think of it as like set it and forget it. And they're like, oh yeah, I've done the abandoned cart. It's fine. But like thinking about what makes sense for all of your different abandonment series. So like, you've got your abandoned cart, your added to cart abandonment, your Klaviyo added, I think it was this year, like collection abandonment, browse abandonment, and like site abandonment. Not all of those are going to work well for every brand. I mean, particularly site abandonment works really well if you're working with like influencers and you're driving a lot of traffic to the site, which might be low converting. Capturing that and sending them like a 2 email site abandonment series can be very effective. So I think it's like, again, the broad strokes that people take to things, and what is best practice for brand A is not going to work for brand B. So it's making sure that your flows are clean and tight. And I think like over reliance on campaigns, if your flows aren't driving like 30% of your revenue, 40% of your revenue, you should probably be looking at what's going on there.
I really appreciate all the information. I feel like I need to go back and do some homework on our own stuff, just hearing what you're saying here. And, even with flows, there's nothing that set it and forget it, right? So how often do you realistically need to check in on things?
Oh man, we're like with our clients, we're reporting on it monthly and we're looking at it monthly and making sure, like doing like an in-depth like Looker Studio report monthly, making sure that everything is still performing. And like when we talk to a new merchant, like we do very extensive audits where we get access to their Klaviyo account. We're going to look at everything from like data capture, list engagement, deliverability, campaigns, flows, segmentation, what's like on the retention side of things, loyalty, quizzes, tech stack suggestions. And our audits are like 30 to 40 pages long and have like tons of insight and actionable items in them. And throughout all of it, what we're doing is we're comparing you against, like Klaviyo does a nice little like benchmark within your account where it puts you up against like 100 other merchants that are doing similar GMV to you. And so you can see where you're performing against like other people around your level. And we would just want to make sure that we're moving you up into that, the top 10% of all of them. So it's like just a constant eye on the prize and checking in on it.
I'm sure people who are looking at reassessing what they're doing will always want like a magic formula or want something to happen yesterday, right? Like what's the realistic time frame it would take to just kind of rehab something that's not working?
3 to 6 months is what we sort of bank on. Ideally 6 months, because then that gives us a bit longer to like really sink our teeth into it, really watch and monitor trends and see how things are performing. And then like, we've got merchants who are on, year-long retainers with us who we're doing this constantly with. And obviously they see the best results because we're working with them constantly. But so at a starting point, like 3 to 6 months, and we do project-based work. We do retainers as well. If you just want to bring us in to like, okay, my automations and flows, I need help. Cool. We'll do that. You want us to like work on campaigns as well and do both? Cool. We can do that as well. We're pretty flexible in how we work with our merchants, but I think that's what sort of differentiates us is we don't take a one size fits all model here because not every brand's the same. You'd be naive to think so.
And is now the best time? Beginning of the year, things are quiet. You had like you're fresh in your mind about what happened, like the biggest selling season.
Yeah, I think like now's a very good time to start digging into it. We've been real busy of late with merchants reaching out to us, wanting to get things started for the new year. If things have gone well, how can they go better? If things haven't gone well, what can we do to fix them? So whatever side of the spectrum you're on, I think, now's a good time. I don't think there's any wrong time. It's just wrong to not look at it and look into it.
Yeah, especially when you're saying 3 to 6 months is like a healthy time frame to really get it moving in the right direction. Now is the best time, right?
Exactly, yeah. And like, which is also hard because like every single merchant is exhausted. You've gone through the ringer. This last month, 2-3 months has been a lot. So it's probably hard to like pick yourself up and be like, okay, let's keep doing this again. But that's where we can come in and we can help. Let us take some of it off your plate and, just optimize and look for efficiencies and inefficiencies.
Great. I'll hand you some stuff and we'll talk to you in a month.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I love this stuff. It's good fun. Email's your only owned channel. This is the only one that like you are the ruler of your own destiny. So make sure that you're taking the reins on it and maximizing it.
Absolutely. And any last like takeaways that you'd want to share?
I think we've covered a lot here. I think it's like, look at your flows. Look at your flows. I think that's the biggest one. Look at your flows and then look in your Klaviyo account how you're comparing against other people in that same cohort who are similar GMV to you. And then also that postmortem. Make sure that you're looking back before you start looking forward. And then just data.
All right, Roddy. Well, thank you so much. I think that I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure that other people out there did as well. And I look forward to chatting with you again, especially, as the year goes on. And I feel like there's always something new to learn, right?
Absolutely. A massive thank you to you for having me here to listen to me ramble for the last 20, 30 minutes, whatever it's been. I really appreciate you having me on. You know that I'm a fan of Cleverific and you and Andrew and the whole team over there. Looking forward to working more with you in 2026. And thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Take care.